Football Manager is a game that is insanely detailed and there's loads of hidden secrets that even the most experienced player might not know about. So today I'm going to be covering some of my favourite FM secrets. I imagine most of you won't have heard of nearly all of these. If you're someone that somehow knows every single one that we go through, you are an absolute FM master. But with that being said, we won't waste too much time. Let's get right into the Football Manager 23 secrets. Hello everyone, Jake here, welcome to the video. As mentioned, we're going to be looking at some secrets, some hidden features of FM23 that you might not know about. Some that are purely just interesting, some that are actually really useful and can advance your game. So if you do enjoy this video, please go ahead and smash that like button for us. Let us know in the comments down below your favourite Football Manager secret and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The final thing is you'll see we're in a Blackburn Rover save here. This is a rebuild that I did, a single video, 5-season rebuild where we tried to take Blackburn to the Premier League. You can find my channel linked in the description if you want to check that out. But let's start off with the first secret. Now this is one that a lot of older players to the game might recognise, but a lot of new people might not. And that's all to do with new gen players, or regen players as some people call them. But new gen players, the players that are generated in your database as the seasons go on, they can actually have some unique features that real players in the game cannot. For example, there are some personalities that you can get for a new gen player that you can't actually get with a real existing person. On top of that, sometimes your new gen players will also come out as gay. This can sometimes happen a few seasons into your save. It's completely random, and if you do get a player that comes out, you often get quite a big financial boost, shirt sales and whatnot. It's quite rare, so I'll put an image on screen of what it will look like if it does happen. And speaking of rare cases to do with new gens, did you know that if you've been at a club for a while and you're of a certain age, you can actually have a son spawn in a youth intake? Now, Miles Jacobson, the creator behind Football Manager, said that there's a 1 in 10,000 chance in a youth intake after you hit all this criteria of being able to have a son in game, of there actually being one that gets generated. So keep an eye out in your youth intakes. If you've been at a club for a while, if your save's been going on, there's a good chance you can get one. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll be good, but you can put them into your first team and hopefully give them a fair crack at being a good player. And who knows, maybe they'll go on to be the next biggest thing in world football. Now this next section of the game is something that I never considered until I was clicking around on some of these tabs to find interesting things to talk about. And actually the benefits of this could be quite big. And this is all about referees, which you might not really consider much in Football Manager. Every game has a referee, of course, but if you go to your division, let's say the Premier League here, you can see a bunch of information from the season preview to rules about the league. But if you go over to stats, instead of team overview, team detailed or anything like that, scroll down to referees and you can actually see some very interesting statistics about the refs in your division that you can use to your advantage. Now you might just want to look at this for fun, but there's definitely some takeaways you can get from this. For example, I've sorted by yellow cards, and all of these refs at the top have managed about 20 games between themselves, and our top one, Andrew Madley, has given out 144 yellow cards, compared to say Paul Tierney, who in 29 matches, more matches, has only given out 54. Now if all the refs had a very similar yellow card, red card percentage, I'd be fine with that, but seeing just how many certain refs have given out, such as Andrew Madley, does make me think, and without the editor I can't check, but it does make me think there must be some kind of leniency meter with certain refs about how strict they are, in terms of how likely they are to give bookings. And the way that you could maybe use this to your advantage is if you know you've got Andrew Madley in your next game and you're trying to stop someone from getting suspended, or maybe you just want to avoid getting too many yellow cards, because you know he's such a strict ref, you can go to your tactics, maybe you can ease off on certain things. For example, if you had tackle harder on your players, you could maybe turn that off to ease off of tackles for a game, knowing that he's going to be your ref. And in the same case, if you've got a referee that maybe isn't giving out too many yellow cards, you could ask them to tackle harder. It's not something that you're going to use for every match, of course, but if you are in a position where, you know, you've got that big match coming up and Seko Fofana here, he's a booking away from getting suspended, it's something you could definitely think about, and it might actually improve your chances overall. The details matter in Football Manager, and that could be one of them that helps you. Either way though, I did not know these referee statistics were tracked, and it's very interesting to look at, see which refs are good, which are bad, who's giving out the yellows, who's giving out the reds, and how you can take advantage of that. For the next tip, we're heading over to the Dev Center, and there's a staff role that was introduced a few years ago in Football Manager that can be really, really useful, but not a lot of people are really using them to their full advantage, and that is your loan manager. Now, your loan manager is responsible for sorting out loans for your players, players, whether that be your youth players, whether that be players in your first team. If you add someone to the development list, the loan manager will try and get them out. But what they also do is track players on loan, but not just that. If you go to the dev center, go over to loans, even if you don't really have anyone out on loan, you'll see you get some loan suggestions. And these are usually the players that are maybe 18, 19, are better than this under 21, under 18 level of football, but maybe aren't good enough for the first team, and they might need a loan out to get better. This is where your staff can recommend them to you, and you can go through and offer all of these players out for loan. That way they're not sitting around and stunting their growth, because at the age of 18 now, Charlie Peterson here, if we didn't know any better, we might leave him in our youth academy, and it's these kind of ages where he needs to be playing first team football really, and this under 21 football is not going to help him. So you could either add him to your development list or go ahead yourself and offer him out for some kind of loan deal. So make sure you do check out this loan suggestion area. You can find players that might need a loan. You'll get the reason as to why as well. Sometimes you'll come across a player, let's say like James Edmondson here, where you think at 21 is a loan really worth it. He's only got a year left on his deal and it might be worth thinking about selling him. These are kind of the players that have peaked in terms of their development in the youth academies but need that extra step. So if you're not going to send them out on loan, it could be a good time to sell some of these guys on to give more game time to the other players in the under 21s and the under 18s. Another secret feature in the game, one that many people might not know about, is all to do with recruitment focuses, which were only added to the game very recently. It's when you go scouting, you can set up certain focuses to look for, say, a player in Europe who meets certain criteria, and that's how you get your scouts out there to find players like this guy, Mladen Markovic, who could be a good player. That's what your scouts are looking for. But if you've got a player maybe in your team, let's say for our example, we've got Seko Fofana in the midfield, but he's 32 now, getting on, a very good box-to-box player, but we're going to need to replace him. You could always do the find similar players feature that the game provides, but that's only going to bring through players that you've already scouted. But if you want to find a player very similar to Seko Fofana very easily and set up a focus for him, this is a feature that not many people know about, even though it's quite obviously there, just a lot of people ignore it. So if you go to Recruitment Focus, once you're on there, choose a position. So in our case, Seko Fofana is a central midfielder. You'll then get the option to choose a role, but instead of doing that, click Replacement For. You can then hover over Seko Fofana. You can then go ahead and sort out the kind of ages you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for someone who's at maximum 25, has potential of 4 stars, but is at least decent enough for the first team now. And they'll go ahead and look for players to replace Seko Fofana. They'll also show you players that they might have already scouted that potentially fit that bill. Take Carney Chukwuemeka, for example, here. You can see he's got a lot of box-to-box elements to his game as well. It's a very handy way to find replacements for players, and a lot of people don't see it. Obviously, we see these bits, we click on all these, sort the ages, and hit confirm. But people often aren't doing this replacement for feature, which I think can be really beneficial and really help when you're looking to replace a player that's maybe about to leave because he's too good for your team, or you've got an aging player that you want to find the next version of, the next Seko Fofana, the next Lionel Messi, whatever it might be in your side. One big issue you might come across in FM, particularly if you're playing quite an outrageous tactic, a tactic that maybe isn't super normal, let's say something like this, is when you try and promote a young player from your academy into your first team, they're not really acclimatized to the way that you play the game, and it's going to take a while before they really get used to the tactical style that you're trying to play, and that's going to make these young players find it more difficult to bed into your team and actually get playing in the way that you'd want them to and hit the ground running. But there is a way you can get around this. Some of you might be doing this already without knowing, some of you might not be, and what that is to have your youth academy players playing the exact tactic that you're playing here in game in your youth academies as well. You see it in real life happening more and more often. If your team plays a 5 at the back shape, you'll often see the under 23s, the under 21s are also trying to deploy in a similar way. That way it's a lot easier for a youth player to come through, come into the first team and make an impact straight away without having to take a year to acclimatise to the tactic that you're trying to play. And the way that you can see this is if you go to your dev center, choose whichever team you want, under 21s, under 18s, under 23s, whatever you've got, head over to tactics. And then in the primary tactics section here, you've got 2 choices. Either you play with your youth team manager's preferred formation, or you can get them to play the tactical style that you are playing in your team. That way they can start to learn how to play. And then, for example, if we decided to promote this guy, Mailer here, he'd already be ready to play in that kind of style. So to summarize, you'll be getting these players playing the exact style you want so that when they come over to your first team, they'll be ready to play. So there's 5 things you might not have known about in Football Manager, 5 secrets. If you knew them all, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know any secrets that you found that I haven't covered yet. We've also got another video on this topic with 5 other secrets if you want to check them out. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoy, but most of all, have a great day everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.